At her wedding, my daughter raised her glass and hissed, "Finally, I'll have a successful father." The hall roared with laughter and applause, and I was told to leave my celebration. I had already stood up, but my father-in-law also stood up, and what he did next turned the banquet and our lives upside down forever. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. I want to thank the man who showed me what real success looks like. Kristen's voice rang through the Four Seasons ballroom, her manicured fingers wrapped around the microphone like she'd been born to hold one. The champagne in her other hand caught the light from the crystal chandeliers, casting golden reflections across 200 upturned faces. I sat at the head table, my rented tux pulling tight across shoulders that had carried more than fabric ever should. Pride swelled in my chest. My little girl, radiant in her $15,000 dress, white silk that pooled around her feet like liquid moonlight. The dress cost more than I made in 3 months, but seeing her glow made every double shift worth it. She continued, her practiced smile widening. This man taught me that ambition isn't just about wanting more, it's about achieving it. The crowd murmured approval. The soft jazz band had stopped, their instruments silent as everyone hung on her words. Silk rustled against chairs as guests leaned forward. My hands were already raised to applaud when Kristen turned, not toward me, toward Martin Moreno. "Martin," she said, resting her hand on his shoulder. His Armani suit didn't pull or strain anywhere. "You've shown me what a real father figure looks like. Someone who built an empire, not excuses." The champagne I'd just sipped turned to acid in my throat. My hands, still half raised in that stupid applauding position, slowly lowered to the table. The linen napkin crumpled in my grip. "Some people peak at 25, Kristen continued, her voice growing stronger. She still hadn't looked at me. "Others never peak at all. But you, Martin, you've shown me that success has no ceiling when you're truly driven." Mrs. Henderson at table 3 whispered to her husband, "How touching." She didn't understand, couldn't see the knife sliding between my ribs with each word. The photographer crouched near the dance floor, his camera clicking rapidly, capturing what he must have thought was a heartwarming moment between a bride and her father-in-law. Martin's face flickered with something, discomfort maybe. His hand found Rebecca's under the table, squeezing. He wasn't smiling as broadly as the other guests expected. When our eyes met across the room, he held my gaze for a long moment before looking away. "I mean, let's be honest," Kristen said, finally turning to look directly at me. Her voice shifted from warm honey to winter frost. "Dad, you can leave if you're uncomfortable around successful people. I know this isn't exactly your crowd." Silence. 1 second. 2. Then nervous laughter rippled through the room like dominoes falling. "Kristen, maybe—" Aaron started, his hand reaching for her wrist. She pulled away. "No, Aaron, I need to say this. Some of us are heading to the country club after. The real celebration." Her eyes stayed locked on mine. "The members-only area, of course." My chair scraped against the floor as I shifted. Stand and leave? Give her the satisfaction? Or sit here while 200 people watched me shrink into nothing? "Well, that's honest," someone said, trying to lighten the mood. A few people laughed. Most didn't. The white orchids and roses in the centerpieces, arrangements that cost more than my monthly take-home, seemed to lean away from me. Everything in this room cost more than something in my life. The chandelier above, my car, the wine being poured, my weekly groceries, the band's instruments, waiting silently, my rent. I remembered teaching her to ride a bike in Zilker Park, her knees bleeding, her face determined. "Don't let go, Daddy." But I had to let go. That's what fathers do. We let go and watch them ride away, hoping they'll circle back. She hadn't circled back. To success, Kristen raised her glass higher, and to those who actually achieve it. The room erupted in applause. Glasses clinked. The band started up again, some jazz standard about love and happiness. Martin stood to shake hands with well-wishers, but he moved slowly, deliberately, like a man walking through water. I reached for my water glass. The condensation had made it slippery, and my hand trembled slightly as I lifted it. The ice clinked against crystal, a small sound lost in the celebration around me. It had been exactly 23 years since Kristen's recovery, 6 months since she'd stopped returning my calls, and 2 hours since this reception started. But my mind was already sliding backward, against my will, to when things between us had started to crack. The water glass grew heavier in my grip as October 14th, 2020, came rushing back. 6:45 in the morning, my 2008 Honda Civic dead in her college parking lot, steam rising from under the hood like my hopes evaporating into Texas heat. I'd been pushing the car toward the side of the lot when Kristen's friends walked by. Their designer backpacks probably cost more than my transmission repair would. "Could you not come to campus anymore?" she'd said after they passed, not even helping me push. "It's embarrassing." The Uber ride home cost $32 I didn't have. I'd sat in the back, calculating transmission repair versus groceries, new brake pads versus electricity bill. That week I picked up extra warehouse shifts, loading boxes until my back screamed, telling myself it was temporary. Everything was temporary. March 2021, her birthday dinner at Olive Garden. All I could afford, but I'd saved for 2 months to take her somewhere with cloth napkins. She'd been looking at the menu when her friend Ashley walked past the window. I watched Kristen shrink into herself, then spring back with fake surprise when Ashley came in. "Oh, hi, this is just someone I know? We ran into each other." Just someone I know. The waitress had looked confused when I still insisted on paying, when I still ordered the birthday dessert. Kristen left before they brought it out. I sat in the parking lot afterward, eating leftover breadsticks in my car, wondering when I'd become someone to be ashamed of. The Amazon warehouse job started that summer. 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., my body moving on autopilot while my mind calculated bills. The younger workers called me Pops, not mean-spirited, just fact. I was old enough to be their father, working their job, living their struggle, but with less time to fix it. I'd hide the uniform in my car so Kristen wouldn't see it when I picked her up. Energy drinks became my breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Red Bull and resignation. One morning, an Uber passenger, a woman about Kristen's age, tipped me $50. "You remind me of my dad," she'd said. "He worked himself to death for us kids." Past tense. Worked. I wondered if she meant it literally. August 2021. Kristen found my pay stubs in the glove compartment. She sat on our apartment steps, typing numbers into her phone calculator. 62,000 combined. "Dad, that's what my friends spend on cars." "Their cars, Dad. Plural." She'd looked up at me, and I saw it in her eyes before she said it. "This is such a loser situation." She claimed she meant the situation, not me. But words don't work that way. They stick to whatever they touch. Every shift after that, loading boxes, driving strangers, I heard it. Loser, loser, loser. A rhythm to work to. "Sir, are you all right?" A server stood beside me in the present, the Four Seasons ballroom snapping back into focus. The band was playing something upbeat now. Couples were starting to dance. "Fine," I managed, though my grip on the water glass had turned my knuckles white. Kristen's laugh cut through the music, bright and sharp. She was talking to a group of Martin's business associates, her hands moving animatedly, probably telling the story of how she met Aaron. The sanitized version, where she was pursuing her passion for charity work, not hunting for a trust fund with a pulse. December 2021 broke something that couldn't be repaired. Finals week, she'd arrived home with her dorm possessions in designer luggage I'd never seen before. "I'm dropping out," she'd announced while scrolling Instagram. Casual, like mentioning the weather. "What? Kristen, you're so close to graduating." "College is for people who need to work. I'm going to marry wealth." The word wealth? Not someone wealthy. Wealth itself, like it was a person she could wed. I'd begged, bargained, reasoned. The tuition was already paid, non-refundable. $20,000 I'd borrowed against the apartment, thinking it was an investment in her future. "That's your problem, Dad. You think too small." 20,000? The women I need to compete with spend that on a handbag. My shoulders started aching in the present, the old warehouse injury flaring up. My body kept score even when my mind tried to forget. The calluses on my hands, still there after months without warehouse work, pressed against the crystal water glass. Somewhere in the ballroom, champagne bubbled in glasses that cost more than I made in a day. She'd said she needed $30,000 for networking, wardrobe, and society memberships. The loan officer at Wells Fargo had that look. Sympathy mixed with judgment. 18% interest. Payments until I was 75. Think of it as an investment, Kristen had said, in your grandchildren's future. The condensation from the water glass rolled down like tears I wouldn't let fall. In the present, I saw Kristen whisper something to Aaron, her hand pointing across the ballroom. Not at me this time. At someone near the gift table where packages wrapped in silver and gold paper towered like a small city skyline. Rebecca Moreno stood there, adjusting one of the gifts, and I saw Kristen's eyes narrow the way they did when she was calculating something. January 2022, the Wells Fargo branch on Lamar Boulevard, my signature shaking on that loan paperwork while Kristen waited in the car, already browsing Neiman Marcus online. $30,000 I'd never see again, funding her transformation into someone I didn't recognize. The receipts I found later told the story. $3,000 for hair extensions, investment hair, she'd called it. $5,000 for designer bags, conversation starters. A country club membership at $1,000 a month I'd somehow agreed to cover for just the first year. I'd watched her practice her new laugh in our bathroom mirror. Not the snorting giggle I'd loved since she was 3, but something crystalline and controlled. She'd hired a voice coach to lose that middle-class accent, though I never knew we had one until it became something to be ashamed of. February 2022. She'd needed $500 for a charity gala ticket. I'd driven Uber for 72 hours straight to make it happen. While she waltzed inside the Austin Country Club, I'd sat in my car outside, watching through the floor-to-ceiling windows. A drunk passenger had knocked on my window. "You waiting for someone special?" he'd asked. I'd nodded, though waiting implied she'd come back out to me. She'd studied wealthy families like other kids studied for exams. Index cards with names, net worth, eligible sons. She knew which boats they owned, which boards they sat on, which divorces were pending. Aaron Moreno had been circled in red ink. Martin's son, sole heir, no siblings. Mother Rebecca comes from old oil money. 3 failed attempts before Aaron took the bait. Harrison Whitfield saw through her at a polo match when she'd pretended to know about horses. James Chen's mother had done a background check. Tyler Ashford had straight up laughed when she'd suggested they were soulmates after 2 weeks. But Aaron, sweet, sheltered Aaron, had believed every word. The transformation expenses had bled me dry, but it was the denial that cut deepest. "If anyone asks, you're in Europe," she'd instructed before events. "Consulting work. Very exclusive. Can't discuss details." In the present ballroom, Martin Moreno was shaking hands with guests, his movements still carrying that underwater quality. Aaron kissed Kristen's hand, and she smiled that practice smile. The wedding cake was being wheeled out. 5 tiers of fondant and sugarwork that cost $3,000. My best month driving Uber, I'd cleared $3,100. She'd learned to identify wine vintages while I drank tap water. Her new vocabulary included words like portfolio and diversification and summer home. Abstract concepts that meant nothing in my world of concrete numbers. Miles driven, hours worked, dollars owed. March 2022, she'd stopped coming home except to collect mail. The apartment felt hollow without her noise, her mess, her presence. I'd kept paying for the country club membership even though she'd said it would be just the first year. Kept paying for the voice coach who'd already been dismissed. Kept paying for storage units full of clothes she'd worn once to be seen in, then discarded. The polo matches, yacht club gatherings, art gallery openings. She'd mapped them all out like a general planning a campaign. "Always be the most charming, never the richest," she'd written in her journal. I'd found it when she'd moved out, left behind like everything else that reminded her of where she'd come from. The hunting had been methodical. She'd learned their language, their gestures, their references. She knew about boarding schools she'd never attended, ski resorts she'd never visited, trust funds she'd never had. She'd created a character and inhabited it so completely that sometimes I wondered if she remembered the real Kristen at all. But I did. I remembered the girl who'd cried when our goldfish died, who'd made me Father's Day cards from construction paper, who'd fallen asleep on my shoulder during movie nights. That girl was in there somewhere, buried under hair extensions and designer labels and practiced laughs. Love was my curse. No matter how much she hurt me, I couldn't stop loving her. Even now, watching her point at Rebecca Moreno, while whispering to Aaron, probably planning her next strategic move, I loved her. The way you love someone who's sick, hoping they'll get better, even when they don't want to. The water glass sweated in my hand. Around me, the reception continued. Laughter, music, the clinking of real crystal against real silver. Everything real except the story being told about how the bride and groom met, how perfect their families were together, how blessed this union was. Martin caught my eye again across the room. This time, he didn't look away. There was something in his expression I couldn't read. Not pity exactly, but understanding maybe. Like he knew something I didn't about the price we pay for success. Christine's whisper to Aaron grew more animated, her free hand gesturing toward Rebecca again, and I saw Aaron's face change. Not much, just a tightening around his eyes. He shook his head slightly, but Kristen was already moving, champagne glass still in hand, heading toward his mother Rebecca's direction, but I couldn't focus on that now. The champagne glass in Kristen's hand caught the light, and suddenly I was somewhere else entirely. That same golden shimmer had caught my eye 2 years earlier, when everything changed. July 15th, 2023. 2 in the afternoon, and the Texas heat was trying to murder anyone stupid enough to be outside. 102 degrees according to my phone, which I checked 3 times while standing in the Austin Country Club parking lot, wondering if I was at the right place. My 2008 Civic looked like a food stamp among $100 bills, parked between a pearl white Bentley and a matte black Tesla. The security guard at the entrance studied my car longer than necessary, his hand hovering near his radio, like I might be there to steal the golf carts. My best polo shirt, 5 years old, from Target, with a small bleach stain I hoped nobody would notice, was already soaked through with sweat. The lobby's marble floors reflected everything, including my worn New Balance sneakers that I'd tried to clean with a toothbrush that morning. Members drifted past in their $500 golf attire, eyes sliding over me like I was part of the furniture. No, furniture belonged here more than I did. "Dad, this is Aaron Moreno." Kristen's voice had that bright, false quality she'd been perfecting. She'd texted me to meet her at the club restaurant, not the entrance, probably so fewer people would see us together. When I'd walked in, I caught her visible flinch, before she recovered with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Aaron, this is my father." She paused, swallowing the word like medicine. "Elmer." Aaron's handshake was exactly what I expected. Soft as pudding, brief as a hiccup, his attention already elsewhere before our hands separated. His Rolex caught the sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows. $50,000 on his wrist, casual as a Timex. "Nice to meet you, Pops," he said, already checking his phone. The way he said Pops wasn't mean exactly, just dismissive. Like when you pat a dog you don't particularly care about. He ordered wine without looking at the menu. The 2018 Camus, if you have it, treating our waiter like he was voice-activated furniture. $200 for a bottle of fermented grapes. I thought about how many Uber rides that was, how many warehouse boxes. "Dad says work is for people who need money," Aaron mentioned casually, scrolling through his phone while talking. "I did a gap year after college. Well, more like a gap decade at this point." He laughed at his own non-joke. Kristen laughed too, that new crystalline laugh that sounded nothing like her. Martin arrived from the golf course 20 minutes later, and I knew the exact moment he saw me. His face went through changes like a flipbook. Confusion, then recognition, then something I couldn't name. His handshake lasted too long, his eyes searching my face like he was reading a map to somewhere he'd been before. "Elmer Payne," he said slowly. "That name," Rebecca noticed immediately. "Martin, you're being strange." He recovered barely. "You must have one of those familiar faces." But his eyes kept finding me during lunch. I ordered soup, the cheapest thing on the menu that wasn't literally bread and water. Kristen kicked me under the table when I asked if it came with crackers. Aaron talked about his father's empire, about boats and boards and acquisitions, while Martin watched me like he was trying to solve an equation. When my credit card got declined, trying to pay for parking, Aaron covered it without looking up from his phone. "Don't worry about it, Pops." There was that word again, that dismissal. Martin followed me to the parking lot. The Texas sun turned the asphalt into a skillet, heat waves making everything shimmer and bend. "Have we met before?" he asked. "Tech conference? Startup scene? Austin's not that big." "I just drive for Uber," I said, opening my car door, praying it would start on the first try. "But you seem so—" He stopped, searching for words. "Dad!" Aaron called from the club entrance. "Mom's waiting!" Martin pressed a business card into my hand, urgent as a secret. "Call me, please." I drove away, watching him in my rearview mirror, standing in that parking lot despite the heat, his phone already at his ear. 3 months later, October 2023, I was sitting in my car during an Uber break, scrolling through Instagram like an addict looking for a fix. There it was, Kristen and Aaron at some charity gala, her in a dress that cost more than my car, him with his hand possessively on her waist. The caption, "With my soulmate at the Austin Heart Foundation Gala." Soulmate. They'd known each other 3 months. Her moving day came without warning. A Tuesday morning text while I was heading to my warehouse shift. "Moving in with Aaron today. Movers are here." Not, "Can you help?" Not, "I'd like you to be there." Just informing me, like updating her address for a magazine subscription. I drove straight to her apartment, calling in sick to work, losing a day's pay I couldn't afford to lose. The movers were already there, professionals with matching uniforms and equipment that looked like it belonged in an operating room. Aaron's penthouse was 30 floors up in downtown Austin, one of those buildings that looked like a glass finger pointing at heaven. "Is this gentleman with you?" one of the movers asked Kristen, looking at me in my warehouse uniform. She turned red, actually red, like she'd been slapped. Just go, Dad. I'll call you later." 3 weeks. That's how long later was. December brought the engagement announcement. I found out through Facebook. Sitting in my car between rides, heater broken, wearing 2 jackets, and still cold. The photo was professional. Sunset backdrop, her left hand prominently displayed, the Tiffany ring catching light like a small star. $75,000, according to the comments from her new friends who knew about such things. 500 likes, 200 comments, not one mentioning her father. "Where's her family?" someone asked. Kristen's reply, "Aaron's family is all I need." My phone screen cracked when I dropped it, or maybe I threw it. Hard to remember exactly. Martin's attempts to reach me started in November. Missed call during a warehouse shift, my supervisor threatening to write me up if he saw my phone again. The voicemail, "Elmer, it's Martin Moreno. We need to talk. It's important." December brought a handwritten letter. Actual paper. Expensive stationery. His handwriting careful as a surgeon's. "I know who you are. I know what happened. Let me explain." I burned it in my kitchen sink, setting off the smoke detector, neighbors banging on walls. January, he showed up at the Amazon warehouse. 4 in the morning, standing at the employee entrance in a cashmere coat, worth more than I made in a month. Security wouldn't let him in. No visitor pass, wrong hours, suspicious rich man in a place where rich men didn't belong. The guard handed me a note after Martin left. "You deserve better than this. Let me help. Please." Christmas Eve came with a text at 11 p.m. "Having Christmas with Aaron's family. See you soon." A photo attached. Elaborate dinner table, crystal and china. A tree that belonged in a magazine. Everyone in formal wear. Rebecca's diamonds catching candlelight. Martin at the head of the table, looking uncomfortable. Kristen laughing at something Aaron was saying. I spent Christmas delivering drunk people to their warm homes. Chinese takeout on my passenger seat getting cold. Radio playing songs about family and togetherness. One passenger, drunk enough to be honest, stuffed a $100 bill in my cup holder. No one should be alone on Christmas, man. But I was. Even when Kristen was in the same room, I was alone. January meant wedding planning. She needed my signature on some documents. Legal stuff. Liability waivers for the venue. We met at a Starbucks because coming to my apartment was apparently no longer an option. She showed me photos on her phone, swiping through venues and flowers and cakes like evidence in a case I'd already lost. "Martin's paying for everything, of course," she said, not looking up from the screen. "The venue alone is $40,000. The guest list was on her laptop. 200 names. My side had 3. My sister in California, who couldn't afford to come. 2 cousins I hadn't seen in years. She deleted 2 of them while I watched. They won't fit in, she explained, like people were furniture you could rearrange. February 14th, Valentine's Day, Martin stood at my apartment door. I saw him through the peephole, standing there in jeans and a simple shirt, trying to look normal, trying to belong in my hallway with its stained carpet and broken light fixtures. 15 minutes, he said to my closed door. That's all I ask. Please leave me alone. You don't understand. I owe you. Mrs. Chen from 3B opened her door, suspicious of the well-dressed stranger. Martin retreated, but not before sliding another business card under my door. On the back, in pen, "You saved her. Let me save you." I picked up my phone 17 times that night, typed his number 16 times. My finger hovered over the call button like it weighed 1,000 pounds. Pick up the phone. Put it down. Pick it up again. The screen would go dark, and I'd start over. I never did make that call. 2 months later, in April, Kristen made her final demand. 8 p.m., April 20th, 2025. I'd just finished a double shift. Warehouse until 3, Uber until 7:30. Still wearing my warehouse uniform, the Amazon Smile logo mocking me from my chest, sweat stains mapping territories of exhaustion across my back. The knock wasn't her usual pattern, harder, more insistent. She stood in my doorway like visiting a crime scene, her $3,000 outfit an accusation against my poverty. She wouldn't sit on my couch, actually stepped back when I gestured to it, like being poor might be contagious. 5 minutes, she said, checking her Apple Watch. This won't take long. Through my window, I could see Aaron's Bentley idling outside, exhaust clouds in the spring evening. He didn't even turn off the engine. That's how sure they were this would be quick. The briefcase she carried was leather, monogrammed, worth more than my rent. She pulled out papers with the efficiency of someone serving an eviction notice. Maybe she was. Traditional father's responsibilities, she said, placing the papers on my coffee table without actually touching the surface. The itemized invoice might as well have been written in blood. Rehearsal dinner, $15,000, bride's dress. $20,000, already purchased, reimbursement expected. Photography deposit, $5,000 flowers for family tables. $10,000, total, $50,000. Due, May 1st, 2025. That's 11 days from now, she said, checking that expensive watch again. My laptop was already open on the kitchen counter. I turned it toward her, logged into my bank account. The numbers glowed green against black. Savings, $3,047. Checking, $234. Available credit, $500. I pulled out my pay stubs from the drawer where I kept important papers and broken dreams, spread them out like losing poker cards. This is everything. This is all I have. She looked at the numbers the way someone looks at a dead animal on the road. Disgust mixed with mild interest. Other fathers would find a way. How? How would they find $50,000 in 11 days? Martin wrote a check for $200,000 without blinking. Didn't even ask what it was for. I'm not Martin. That's when she exploded. Actually exploded like something inside her had been building pressure for years. You're pathetic. The papers went flying, floating down like expensive snow. Absolutely pathetic. 28 years, and what do you have to show for it? Nothing. You're nothing. Mrs. Chen started banging on the wall. Then Mr. Rodriguez from above. The whole building knew our business now. 28 years of disappointment. You know what Ashley's father gave her? A house? A house, Dad. You can't even give me flowers. Kristen, Mom would be ashamed of you. The silence after that was nuclear. We both stood there in the fallout, her chest heaving, my heart somewhere around my knees. Juliana's name hadn't been spoken between us in 2 years. If you can't contribute, she said, voice arctic now, controlled, don't come. To my daughter's wedding? I'll tell everyone you're sick or traveling. She picked up her briefcase, clicked it shut with finality. Or dead. That would be easier to explain. I'm still your father. No. She looked at me like I was a stranger she'd accidentally let into her home. You're my embarrassment. The door slam shook the whole apartment. My one picture frame, the one of us at Disneyland when she was 7, fell off the shelf. Glass shattered across the floor, but the photo underneath was intact. 5-year-old Kristen on my shoulders, both of us laughing at something I couldn't remember anymore. I knelt to pick up the pieces, and that's when I found it, tucked behind the photo where I'd hidden it years ago. A hospital bracelet, yellow with age. Kristen Payne, Leukemia Ward, 2002. She'd been so small, so fragile. The chemo had taken her hair, her energy, everything except her fight. I'd held her through the worst nights, promised her anything if she'd just keep fighting, promised her the world. I'd given her more than the world. I'd given her everything, and she didn't even know. I went to my computer, typing through tears I didn't acknowledge. Personal loans, bad credit. Autofilled in Google like the algorithm knew my life. 17,000 results in 0.34 seconds. Payday loans, title loans, kidney sales. Apparently everything was for sale if you were desperate enough. The computer screen glowed in my dark apartment. Somewhere outside, Aaron's Bentley was taking my daughter away from me again, like it did every day. Like expensive cars and expensive clothes and expensive everything had built a wall between us. That $50,000 I didn't have could never breach. Why couldn't you be someone important? She'd asked. I was someone important, I told her. To you. That was before I knew better. Knew what? What real success looks like. The loan application page blinked at me, waiting for numbers I didn't have, promises I couldn't make. The memory of that Google search vanished as someone clinked a glass. I was back at the wedding, watching my daughter laugh at something Aaron whispered. 15 minutes had passed since her toast. 15 minutes of sitting frozen while 200 people celebrated around me, pretending I wasn't the bleeding thing in the corner everyone was too polite to acknowledge. My hands gripped the table edge. 30 seconds of internal war. Stay seated, stay invisible, or stand up and try one more time. Aaron excused himself, heading toward the restroom. Kristen stood alone for the first time all evening, adjusting her veil, checking her phone. Now! My knees protested as I stood. Warehouse work had aged them 20 years in 5. The sound drew eyes, the father of the bride, finally moving. Some guests nudged each other, others pretended not to notice. The walk across the dance floor stretched like a desert highway. Couples swayed to Thinking Out Loud, Ed Sheeran's voice mixing with whispers that followed my path. That $3,000 cake towered to my left, 5 tiers of fondant perfection that cost what I made in a good month. Elmer, maybe not now. Aunt Patricia, Martin's sister, tried to intercept me. Her hand on my arm was gentle but firm. It has to be now, I said, moving past her. My rental shoes squeaked against the marble with each step. The sound seemed amplified, like walking in a library. 2 photographers perked up, probably thinking this was the father-daughter dance they'd been waiting for. They'd be disappointed. 20 feet away, Kristen spotted me. Her smile didn't just fade, it calcified, becoming something defensive and hard. She turned to her bridesmaid loud enough for me to hear. Security issue incoming. By the time I reached her, her arms were already crossed, her body language a fortress I'd never learned to breach. You look beautiful, I started, my voice barely carrying over the music. Just like your mother. The eye roll was so pronounced, I worried she'd strain something. What do you want? Money? Her voice dripped condescension. I told you Martin paid for everything. Just 5 minutes, please. You've had 28 years. What's 5 minutes going to change? My hand moved forward instinctively, the way it had when she was little and needed comfort. She stepped back like I was contagious. Don't touch the dress. It costs more than your car. The couples nearby had stopped dancing, pretending to admire the decorations while obviously eavesdropping. The music continued but felt distant now, like it was playing in another room. Kristen, I just want to. You're embarrassing me. Her voice rose, making more heads turn, again, like you always do. I'm not trying to embarrass anyone. Then why are you here? Because I'm your father. The laugh that came out of her was ugly, nothing like the practiced one she'd perfected. No, Martin is more of a father than you ever were. At least he knows how to succeed. Each word was calculated for maximum damage. She'd gotten good at that, knowing exactly where to place the blade. Aaron returned, immediately reading the scene. His hand found Kristen's waist possessively. Babe, is he bothering you? He's leaving. She didn't look at me when she said it. Now. Go back to your Uber, she added louder, making sure the growing audience heard. Someone probably needs a ride to the airport. At least you're good for that." The groomsmen laughed. Not all of them, but enough. Enough to make it clear whose side the room was on. I just wanted to say, "I love you." Silence. Then worse than silence. "Love doesn't pay bills, Dad." The finality in her voice was absolute. This wasn't a door closing, it was a demolition. "Leave! My wedding!" 200 pairs of eyes watched me in the aftermath. Some sympathetic, most just uncomfortable, a few clearly enjoying the drama. At the head table, I saw movement. Martin Moreno pushing back his chair, standing despite Rebecca's hand on his arm, trying to keep him seated. I turned to walk away, each step measured, trying to maintain whatever dignity remained. 1 step, 2 steps. Behind me, a chair scraped loudly against the floor. 3 steps. Martin's hand landed on my shoulder before I reached the 4th step. Not aggressive, but firm enough to stop my retreat. The warmth of his palm through my rental jacket felt like an anchor. "Elmer, wait, please." He turned me around to face the room. 200 faces swiveled between us like spectators at a tennis match. Confusion rippled through the crowd. Why was Martin Moreno, the man paying for everything, interfering with security, escorting out the bride's embarrassing father? "Dad, what are you doing?" Aaron's voice cracked slightly, teenager bleeding through his 30-year-old throat. Martin ignored his son completely. His grip on my shoulder tightened, not painful but insistent, and he started walking me back toward the head table. The crowd parted, expensive gowns rustling as people scrambled to clear a path. "Martin, he's leaving, it's fine," Kristen said, her voice pitched high with something between confusion and alarm. "No, it's not fine." Martin's voice carried the authority of boardrooms and hostile takeovers. "Nothing about this is fine." He grabbed the microphone from its stand at the head table. Feedback squealed briefly before his voice boomed through the speakers. "Everyone, listen." The wedding coordinator, a thin woman in black who'd been orchestrating everything with military precision, frantically gestured to the band. They stopped mid-song, a trumpet note dying lonely in the air. "Kristen," Martin said, his voice filling every corner of the ballroom, "explain to everyone here why you're treating your father this way." "This isn't your business." She looked genuinely shocked now, the controlled facade cracking. "You're marrying my son. Everything is my business." "Dad, seriously, stop." Aaron moved toward the microphone, but Martin held up his free hand, a gesture that froze his son mid-step. "No, I've watched this for 2 years. Watched you dismiss this man, belittle him, treat him like he's something you stepped in." His voice was controlled, but there was something underneath, an anger that had been fermenting. "This man deserves respect." "Respect?" Kristen laughed, sharp and bitter. "For what? For being a failure?" The gasp from the crowd was audible, like air leaving a punctured tire. Several people actually stepped back, as if the words might be contagious. Rebecca moved then, her designer heels clicking across the marble as she approached. "Martin's right," she said, her cultured voice carrying without the microphone. "Mom, you don't understand," Aaron started. "I understand perfectly." Rebecca's interruption was surgical. "I've seen how you treat him, Kristen. The eye rolls when he speaks. The way you introduce him, when you introduce him at all, it's shameful. We raised you better than this, Aaron." She didn't even look at her son when she said it, her eyes fixed on Kristen. The wedding planner tried once more to intervene, approaching Martin with her clipboard clutched like armor. He waved her away without looking, the gesture dismissive as swatting a fly. "Tell them," Martin said, his voice dropping lower but somehow becoming more intense. "Tell everyone why you hate him." He paused, and in that pause, something shifted in his expression. A strange smile played at the corners of his mouth, like someone about to reveal the punchline to a very long joke. "Because he deserves the truth." Kristen's face had gone from pink to red to something approaching purple. She looked at me with pure venom, and I knew what was coming. The final nails in the coffin of our relationship. "You want to know? Fine." She grabbed the microphone from Martin's hand. "Kristen, please." I tried, but my voice was nothing against the speakers. "No, Dad. They should know what you are." The room went cemetery quiet. Phones appeared in hands like magic, little red recording lights blinking to life. The wedding videographer, who'd been packing up his equipment, quickly reassembled his camera. The opportunity for viral content too good to pass up. Servers froze mid-pour, champagne suspended between bottle and glass. The band conductor still had his baton raised, like he'd been turned to stone. This wasn't a wedding anymore. It was a coliseum. Martin's smile grew wider, and I noticed his hand slip into his jacket pocket. There was something in there. Papers? His fingers wrapped around whatever it was, but didn't pull it out. Not yet. Kristen's chest heaved as she prepared her attack. Aaron looked between his parents, confusion written across his face. Rebecca stood perfectly still, but there was something in her expression. Knowledge? Anticipation? I stood straighter, accepting what was coming. There was no stopping this avalanche. All I could do was stand in its path and hope something of me survived. Kristen's mouth opened, the first word already forming. Pathetic. That's what my father is. The word hung in the air like a verdict. He drives Uber at 62. She held the microphone like a weapon, her voice carrying to every corner of the ballroom. Loads boxes at Amazon warehouses at night. You know what he makes? I calculated at once. She pulled out her phone, diamond-encrusted case catching the light. $62,000 a year, combined. She let that sink in. My shoes, these shoes I'm wearing right now, cost more than his monthly salary. The Instagram app was already open. She turned the phone toward the crowd, swiping through photos. This is his car, a 2008 Honda Civic with a cracked windshield and duct tape holding the bumper. It broke down at my college. Twice. Security almost called the police once. Thought he was homeless. Some guests shifted uncomfortably. Others leaned in, hungry for more. He wanted to take me to Olive Garden for my birthday. She paused for effect. Olive? Garden? His idea of vacation? Camping in Texas in August? He shops at Walmart for clothes. Still rents his apartment at 62. Rents. Her voice grew stronger with each accusation, feeding off the energy of public humiliation. No savings. No investments. No retirement plan. No future. She was pacing now, the train of her dress swishing behind her. I had to lie to my friends about him for years. Said he was traveling for business, always traveling, because the truth was too humiliating to share. She gestured toward Martin, who still had that strange smile, his hand still in his pocket. This is what success looks like. Built an empire from nothing, provides for his family. Aaron never had to worry about money, never had to watch his father count change at a gas station, deciding between a full tank and groceries. Never ate ramen 5 nights a week because that's all we could afford. Martin shows what a real father does. Not excuses. Results. Martin's expression hadn't changed. If anything, his smile had grown wider. His hand shifted in his pocket, fingers wrapped around something. He couldn't even pay for my wedding dress, Kristen continued, building to her crescendo. I asked for $50,000, a normal father's contribution to his daughter's wedding. You know what he showed me? His bank account. $3,000. $3,000 at 62 years old. That's not a father. That's a burden. I succeeded despite him, not because of him. Some guests were nodding now, swept up in her narrative. Others looked deeply uncomfortable. One elderly woman was crying quietly into her napkin. You want to know why I'm cruel? Kristen's voice broke slightly, real emotion breaking through the performance. Because kindness would be lying. He's had 40 years to make something of himself. 40 years, and this is it. This is his peak. Driving strangers for tips while Martin owns buildings. She turned to face me directly. That's why I said it. Finally, a successful father. Because I've never had one before. My head bowed under the weight of her words. Each accusation was true, at least on the surface. The facts of my life, stripped of context, laid bare for judgment. Martin started clapping. Slow, deliberate. 3 claps that echoed in the silence. Brilliant speech, Kristen. His voice was warm, almost proud. Really comprehensive. You covered everything. He pulled out his phone, fingers moving across the screen with practiced ease. Except, he scrolled through something, that smile never wavering. One small detail. His smile stretched wider, showing teeth now. The most important detail, actually. Martin, is it time? Rebecca asked, and there was something in her voice. Relief? Satisfaction? Past time, he replied. He was connecting his phone to something. The venue's projection system. The massive screen that had been showing rotating photos of the couple throughout the night flickered to life behind us. Let me tell you about 2002? The screen changed. an old photograph appeared. Two young men in expensive suits, standing in front of a banner. The image was slightly grainy, obviously scanned from a physical photo, but the text was clear. Tech Vision Solutions. The men were smiling, arms around each other's shoulders like brothers, like partners, like equals. One of them was Martin, 30 years younger but unmistakably him. The other was. The photograph hung on the screen for 3 seconds before Kristen gasped. The sound cut through the ballroom like glass breaking. That's you?" Her voice cracked, the microphone amplifying her confusion. Martin nodded slowly. 1995, the day we incorporated Tech Vision Solutions. His finger swiped across his phone and the image changed. Incorporation documents, crisp and official. Your father owned 50%, I owned 50%. The next slide highlighted a name in bold. Elmer Payne, co-founder and chief technology officer. "Dad, what are you talking about?" Aaron stepped forward, his face a map of confusion. "The man you call a failure built the algorithms our company still uses today. Every core process, every optimization that made us millions. Your father-in-law wrote that code?" Gasps rippled through the crowd. Several tech executives leaned forward, recognizing the implications. Tech Vision's algorithms were legendary in the industry, studied in universities, copied by competitors. More photos scrolled past. Our first office, a garage in East Austin, then a real building, then a campus. Headlines flashed by. Tech Vision secures $50 million defense contract. Austin startup joins Fortune 500. In every photo, there I stood, younger, wearing suits that actually fit, giving presentations to rooms full of investors. By 2002, his share was worth $10 million, Martin continued. Conservative estimate. Could have been $15 million with the right buyer. Kristen's face had gone from red to white to something beyond color. Her grip on the microphone loosened, and Aaron had to catch it before it fell. Then came May 15th, 2002. The screen changed again. A hospital admission form filled the projection, the text large enough for everyone to read. Patient, Kristen Payne, age 5. Diagnosis, acute lymphoblastic leukemia, rare variant. The statistics appeared next. 12% chance with standard treatment. Photos followed. My little girl in a hospital bed, tiny under white sheets, bald from chemo, tubes everywhere. In every single photo, I sat beside her, reading stories, holding her hand, sleeping in chairs. The doctors in Houston gave up. Martin's voice had changed, gotten thicker, said to make her comfortable. But there was an experimental treatment in Zurich. An insurance denial letter filled the screen. Bold red text, claim denied, experimental treatment not covered. Treatment cost $500,000 upfront, cash only, plus living expenses, flights, extended stay. Bank loan rejections followed one after another. No bank would lend against a dying child. Martin's voice broke slightly. I offered to help, begged him to let me help. He refused, said it was his responsibility, his daughter, his duty. The share purchase agreement appeared, dated May 20th, 2002, 5 days after the diagnosis. He sold me everything in 5 days, everything. A wire transfer confirmation, $10,000. Plane tickets to Switzerland, dated the next day. Photos of the treatment facility, pristine and promising. 18 months of receipts scrolled by. Medical costs, apartment rental, food. In the margins of one receipt, barely visible, my handwriting. Kristen ate full meal today. A photo appeared of me sleeping across 3 hospital chairs pushed together, still in the same clothes from the previous photos. He lived on sandwiches to save money for better doctors, Martin said. Wore the same 3 shirts for a year and a half. The final photo stopped everyone's breath. Kristen, 7 years old, cancer-free, arms wrapped around my neck, both of us crying. You lived, Martin said directly to Kristen. That was all that mattered to him. He came back with nothing but you. 45 years old, no money, no connections anymore. Who hires a former CEO for entry level? Too qualified for basic jobs, too long out of the game for executive positions. Employment applications flashed by, all marked rejected or position filled. Pride kept him from asking for help. I tried to hire him back 5 times. He refused. Said he made his choice and would live with it. Martin turned to face Kristen fully. Your father isn't a failure. He's the most successful father I've ever known. He traded $10 million for your life and never told you because he didn't want you feeling guilty about surviving. The screen went dark. In the silence that followed, Kristen's knees began to buckle, her mouth opening to speak, but no words coming. My daughter's legs gave out completely. Aaron caught her, but she pushed him away, sinking to her knees in that $20,000 dress, the silk pooling around her like spilled cream. She crawled toward me. Actually crawled. Her hands reaching for my worn rental shoes. Dad! Daddy! The word daddy hit me like a physical blow. She hadn't used it in 15 years. I stepped backward instinctively, but she followed, her tears creating dark streams through her makeup. Please, please look at me. 200 guests stood from their chairs, straining to see. Someone was filming, but for once, I didn't care about the humiliation. This wasn't humiliation. This was something else entirely. I remember the hospital, she whispered, but the microphone on the floor picked it up, broadcasting her words. You singing to me every night. That silly song about the princess who was going to get better. You never missed a night. Her voice broke completely. You gave up everything. Everything. And I called you pathetic. I said Martin was my real father. What kind of monster says that? The sobs that came from her weren't the delicate tears of a bride. They were the broken sounds of someone seeing themselves clearly for the first time. I couldn't watch her on the floor anymore. Despite my knees protesting, warehouse work had destroyed them. I lowered myself down to her level. My own tears were falling now, no point in hiding them. You're not a monster, I said, my voice steadier than I expected. You're my daughter. But I was cruel. You didn't know. That doesn't excuse it. I never wanted you to know. The guilt would have destroyed you. I wanted you free from that weight. She grabbed my hands, holding them like life preservers. But I was so cruel. You were young and hurt. I wasn't the father you needed me to be. Yes, you were. The ferocity in her voice made me pull back. You were everything. You saved me, and I spent 20 years being ashamed of you. She stood suddenly, pulling me up with strength I didn't know she had. Grabbing the microphone from the floor, she faced the crowd. Everyone here, I need you to know, this man saved my life. Literally saved my life. And I've spent years being ashamed of him. Her voice grew stronger with each word. The shame is mine, not his. Mine. She turned back to me. Dad, forgive me. Please. I don't deserve it, but please. There's nothing to forgive. Don't say that. There is. There's so much. I pulled her into my arms, and she collapsed against me like she had when she was 5, scared and sick and needing her daddy. The room erupted in applause, but all I heard was my daughter crying into my shoulder, saying, I'm sorry, over and over. Aaron approached slowly, his face completely transformed. Mr. Payne, Elmer, he stopped, swallowed hard. Dad? Can would it be okay if I called you Dad? I nodded, unable to speak. I didn't know. If I had known... He was crying now too, this 30-year-old man who'd never worked a day in his life. The way we treated you, the Olive Garden joke, the Uber comments, it's okay. No, it's not. He pulled me into a hug, awkward, but genuine. You're a hero. You're an actual hero, and we treated you like... Martin's voice cut through the emotion. There's more. Everyone turned. He had legal documents in his hands. Real ones, not projections. Elmer, you gave up the money, but not the mind. Every algorithm Tech Vision uses, you designed. I've made $100 million on your work. He spread the papers on the head table. Partnership reinstatement papers. I've been carrying these for 2 years, waiting for the right moment. Martin, I can't. 25% stake, retroactive value. Worth approximately $30 million today. The room went silent again. You've earned it. You've more than earned it. I don't need. It's not about need. It's about justice. About making things right. For her. For your grandchildren someday. Let me restore what was stolen by circumstance. Kristen grabbed my hand. Please, Dad. Please let him do this. The pen was heavy in my fingers as I reached for it, my hand hovering over the signature line. The pen touched paper at exactly 9:00 p.m. My signature hadn't changed in 30 years. Still the same careful loops I'd used to sign my daughter's permission slips, her hospital forms, the sale documents that saved her life. Martin signed as witness, then Rebecca, then Aaron. Kristen insisted on signing too, though there was no legal reason for it. "I want my name on this," she said. "I want it on record that I was here when you got back what you deserved." The documents appeared on the projection screen and spontaneous applause erupted throughout the ballroom. The wedding photographer abandoned his posed shots, capturing this instead, the real moment, the one that mattered. "This is better than anything I've shot in 20 years, he muttered, clicking rapidly. The band leader approached tentatively. "Should we play something?" Kristen grabbed my hand before I could retreat. "Dance with me, Daddy." "My knees aren't what they were." "Then we'll sway, please." The opening notes of Butterfly Kisses filled the room. She'd loved that song when she was small, would demand I sing it even though I couldn't carry a tune. Now she pulled me onto the dance floor, her head finding my shoulder like it had always belonged there. "I love you, Dad. I've always loved you, sweetheart. Even when I was horrible. Especially then. That's when you needed it most." The song ended, but we kept moving, other couples joining us. The room had transformed from a spectacle of humiliation into something else, a celebration of what actually mattered. The rest of the reception blurred past. Guests approached with respect instead of pity. Business cards appeared in my pocket. Job offers, consulting requests, invitations to speak at conferences. Tech executives shared stories about TechVision's early impact on the industry. Kristen never left my side, her hand in mine like when she was 5 and afraid of getting lost. 3 months later, I stood in my new office at TechVision headquarters. Chief Innovation Officer gleamed on the door, Martin's idea, though I'd fought him on the title. The corner office overlooked Austin's skyline, the same view I'd had in 1997 when we'd designed this building. My desk held 3 photos: Juliana on our wedding day, 5-year-old Kristen on my shoulders at Disneyland, and a new family portrait from last week. My 2008 Honda Civic still sat in the parking lot below, between Martin's Tesla and Aaron's Bentley. "Some things shouldn't change," I told Martin when he offered to buy me a new car. "Board meeting in 10, Martin said, entering without knocking, a habit from our early days he'd never broken. "Your algorithm proposal's first on the agenda." Before I could respond, Kristen arrived, professional in her blazer, but still my little girl in her smile. The foundation's first grant was approved. She'd started the Juliana Payne Foundation for Childhood Leukemia with her own money. Wedding gifts she'd asked guests to redirect. "We're funding 5 families' treatments in Zurich. Dad, I want you to meet them. They should know who made this possible." She showed me the office next door, her nameplate reading Executive Director underneath. "I'm learning what work really means," she said. "Real work. Mom would be proud. She'd be proud of both of us." Aaron appeared in the doorway, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up. "Ready for lunch? Martin has me shadowing Elmer all week, learning actual business, not just, you know." We walked to a taco truck 3 blocks away. My choice, though they'd offered anywhere in the city. The owner recognized me from my Uber days, insisted the meal was free. "You drove my mother to chemo for months," he said. "Never charged her for waiting time." A photographer from the Austin Business Journal recognized me as we ate. "Aren't you the TechVision founder who gave up everything for his daughter?" Before I could deflect, Kristen answered, "He's my father." The pride in her voice made every sacrifice worth it. The most successful man I know. We walked back to the office together, Kristen in the middle, arms linked with both Aaron and me. The security guard who'd once tried to keep me out of the country club now nodded respectfully. "Good afternoon, Mr. Payne." The elevator doors began closing on our reflections. 3 people who'd found their way back to each other, who'd learned what success actually looked like. Some fortunes can't be measured in dollars. The real treasure was standing next to me, holding my arm, finally understanding that love multiplied when divided, that sacrifice wasn't loss but investment, that a father's success had nothing to do with his bank account, and everything to do with the life he'd saved, now saving others. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.